Yeah, working well.
Good.
Dennis, you can turn us on.
It is on.
Good. Well, let's see. First of all, I'm Dick Miller, and hello everybody here and people who listen to us later. Um, this is the FOSS user group in Natick in title, but we're virtual during the pandemic and hope we can stop that soon. Except this is a good day to be virtual. For those of you who are not in Natick, uh, last night we discovered that the afternoon before, Natick took its regular drinking water tests and sent them off to the laboratory. Last night we learned that they found E. coli in Natick's drinking water.
Oh dear.
It had been there from the day before, and who knows how long before that. And we heard about it right after we finished drinking a lot of water at dinner and washing the dishes with water. So now we're boiling water, and it's just as well you're not visiting Natick today. Uh, there you go. Oh, Jerry is drinking some water. People don't
No,
wait,
drinking
get
some
away
apple
with-
cider.
Well, we can drink cider too, just not water unless we boil it. So there you go. Virtual can be good in more ways than we plan. Um, we're talking about FOSS, free open source software. A lot of what we're talking about is Linux, the most common group of operating systems that specialize in free open source software. Not the only category. And I am running to you today using a notebook computer, a PC style computer, but with no proprietary software on it, no Windows, no nothing else is proprietary, all Ubuntu Linux, one of the more popular flavors of many. Other people will be using other flavors, probably half are using Ubuntu, and some of you, of course, will be using standard Mac OS or um, Windows.
Stop changing your ways because it makes you
Stop changing. Time out. What to?
stop crossing your legs and uncrossing
Ah,
them because
I see. Okay.
jump up and down.
Joe had a secret message that took a while for me to decode. Okay. Might work. You never know. So back to where I might have been. So we're using FOSS. We're explaining FOSS. And we're giving people who aren't using it yet some good excuses for considering using it. It's free open source software, and that means no money. It's open source software, and that means anybody who wants can look inside at the source code. A lot of good programmers do that on your behalf to make sure it isn't carrying any problems that you don't want on your computer. And finally, when I say it's software, it's about any kind of software you can imagine, including some of the very best. Some of the big corporations are running it to run their main operations. And it's a very rare place you'll go with big servers that aren't running them on Linux. So there you go. I should also mention you can run one operating system within another. Nobody ever thought of doing that once upon a time, but nowadays you can run Linux under Windows. You can run Windows under Linux, but instead you could save money by running free DOS under Linux and run the old Windows programs, the old DOS programs you used to run, etc., etc. So many combinations and permutations, and we'll be talking about a few where they help us get something done. But basically, I have all the tools I want on my computer, and I can ask for more and get them for free, try them out, try 3 kinds and see which one I want, that sort of business, no charge. Okay, that's about as much intro as I want to do for now, for today. And I'd like to get into whether I see if you can all see my version of the agenda, which is not showing yet, but
Dick, when you do that, can you
probably
select
should.
follows me? There we go.
I'm
Perfect.
sorry. Uh, I'm now not seeing you anymore. I'm seeing my agenda. Please repeat.
I would just say, select follows me.
You have
Everyone follows me.
to move the main window.
Stop sharing, I guess.
Did you, Dennis, do you want to check the YouTube to see if that worked?
What's the nature of my issue?
Why you need to go? Oh, I don't know. Where's Chromium? Why doesn't it
Hiding
show
down
up?
here somewhere, I think.
Go to Chromium.
When he was sharing, it was already following him.
Go to here.
And
Settings
ah,
and more.
this sounds familiar.
Everyone follows me. Check on it. Click on OK.
I see. I got shook off earlier. Got
Now
it.
you go back to your tab.
Oh, easy for you to say. Might be easy for me to say. We'll see. Look, right.
one.
Are you seeing my agenda?
I'm seeing it in the tiled window.
He did the everyone follows me. As long as he talks, it'll stay up there.
Okay.
If you untile yourself.
Okay, here we go. We've done the introductory slide talk. I've got a big giant red cursor to make it easier for you to see it. And here we go. First of all, I want to mention that there's been a lot in the news. In Natick, we're not drinking the water. In the world, everyone's watching the U.S. nearly melt down last week on Wednesday. And with more threatened to come. And it affects a lot of what we do here today. So we'll be talking about it. We don't usually spend a lot of time on politics, but an insurrection that affects the internet is an insurrection that affects us too. And we'll be looking at it from a lot of angles today. So first of all, I want to take a look in the news at something that happened back in December. And FireEye, which is a cybersecurity firm, got hacked by a Russian group. Once they got hacked, all the places that use their service had an open door to get in. And through a product called SolarWinds software, Russia was able to hack tens of thousands of government and corporate customers, and nobody found out for months. Because nobody found out for months, a lot of those customers' data was compromised. And that includes a lot of US government agencies, not the top security ones, but the ones with lower security are very heavily on SolarWinds. So this was very expensive. Of course, nobody's going to know which parts are valuable to whom, who's discovered them and is using them. But let's just say it was a disaster that will pay off for years to come. That was a clue. But that's a foreign country, bunch of hackers there doing some bad stuff. Bad hackers are called crackers. I suppose it depends which side you're on at the moment. Social media works against the common good. Well, that sounds like we shouldn't have an internet. And we should have an internet. But we're talking this month and this week about where to draw which lines. And that's going to affect us for a long time to come. So this is very interesting. It's an article I think worth reading. Every one of these is going to be a link you can look at later. This is my draft version. I'll adjust it for what we really did. I've clicked it, and I thought maybe you'd be seeing it by now, but you're not. I'm not. Well, never mind. I'll talk through it. So the social media works against the common good is a opinion by a professional looking at how the social media networks, especially Facebook and Twitter, have made themselves more popular by giving you what you think is popular and therefore putting blinders on you. So you're hearing more and more echoes of just what you're saying. For a lot of people, that results in their thinking that what they're saying is true, even when it's an absolute lie. They only hear from people who also say it's true, and they all reinforce each other. That's been going on for years. The hack that affected the Capitol had been going on for months, getting planned and announced and going over in detail. And we're now finding out that, in fact, groups that were going to be attacking were given tours the day before to know which rooms were which. Amazing stuff going on.
Could everyone please mute themselves so they don't interrupt the video? Bob Premack.
So in any case, you'll be able to read that view of how that particular amplifier of any story was working and how it got millions of people in synchronization to believe some rather absurd stuff. After Trump linked in very solidly with that, incited the January 6th Capitol riot, the groups that were empowering this, most of them, not all of them, stopped that traffic, mostly, but not entirely. That is, some traffic could still go through on those sites. And there are other sites, I'll mention in passing, Telegraph, which does a rather nice trick. It doesn't have a central site. It's distributed. When you use it, you're part of the giant server, if you will. So there are sites like that that are still working. I think they're trying to get control too, but we don't know much about how that's going yet. So a lot of places got shut down. Trump got shut down and got very angry, very frustrated, and has been passing various laws and pardons and things like that, basically to get even and to get in his licks, even though he also swore an oath to support the country's people and the country itself, and not necessarily, for instance, opening drilling in wildlife protected areas where it will kill the wildlife. Things of that sort. Well, Parler turned out to be the newest, largest rising place for those discussions. That's from the French parler. And it got shut down by Amazon, whose servers it was running on. It turned around and sued Amazon for doing that, but it appears that it's gone. And it appears that before it was gone, some good hackers, in my opinion, were able to scrape all the data from its servers, including data that had already been deleted, but not yet removed from the server, just removed from transfer. And that was gained also. So this is going to be content that will go public. and it will be data mined for years to come. Something like the Russian one from December. So that's interesting. As to the suit, Parler suing Amazon, the general consensus among the experts is it doesn't have a chance. And the one description I particularly liked was it has about the chance of, and I quote, a mouse fart in a Cat 5 hurricane. Every once in a while, something notable comes out of these problems. So we're going to be hearing a lot more about what was going on, how it was going on, what was due to happen next. And indeed, on the 20th, when President Biden gets sworn in, and before then, a bunch of hacks are being planned. They were being planned. The data is public now on that, but new data that may not be public can, of course, modify that. So we're all in suspense. 50 states were going to be attacked with similar activities, and of course, especially the Capitol building, Washington, D.C., and so forth. Well, I have a photo on my computer, which I'll add on for the record later, and it is a picture of U.S. military troops, fully armed, sleeping on the hard marble floor of the Capitol.
No, not U.S. military.
It wasn't? I thought it was.
No, the militia.
A National Guard
National
unit?
Guard, I mean.
I thought that one was military.
Nope,
In any
not
case,
U.S. military.
in any
state
case, they're
military.
there now. Other places are being similarly equipped. This is being treated very, very seriously after too many places wrote it off as just a lot of baloney or a few dopes showing up. So that's where it's at as of last week and this week. And we'll be talking more about it in other categories. In the news, I want to turn now to a few other items. One is Apple has been working with AMD, I guess, to develop what you might call a super chip. In our computers, we have a CPU, a central processing unit, and a whole bunch of other chips to support it for various jobs, such as going out to the internet, et cetera, talking to a disk drive, you name it, stuff. And Apple has helped to design and is now getting lots of quantities from factories, chips that combine all those peripheral chips with the main chip. You'd think that wouldn't make much difference, and it wouldn't have a long time ago. But nowadays, two things have gone on. One is the chips are a lot more powerful. Even the little ones that go in our computers are much, much more powerful than they were a few years ago. And the second thing is the detail work on the chip, the actual components, is much tinier than it used to be. So you can get more of the components on a single small chip. That cuts down on power, and that means that laptops can run longer and things smaller than laptops. And it also means that now that the chips have gotten so fast, sometimes the delay time is on the connection line between the chips. And now that they're all in the same bucket, those connection lines have shrunk close to zero. So it's picking up speed, it's picking up on how long it can run on a battery charge, etc. It's very interesting. You can buy computers with it. I think they started around November. And you're going to be able to buy these chips for other purposes before long. Well, Linus Torvalds, the guy who brought us Linux in the first place, said he'd sure like to play on one of those Apples if it only had Linux on it. Here we go. Asahi Linux is building on that chip and all the computers that run on that chip. It's a very major project. It's underway now. It's up in public where people with one of those computers can actually share in, try it, and help build it. And it's underway now. So this is a lot of different thoughts wrapped together. And I think a year or two from now, it's going to be very, very interesting. Brand new news as of a few weeks ago. And the Apple part, I think, as of November. So going public with it. So good things to come. And not just if you buy an Apple. I tell people I like my computers a few years old, used, because I can buy a 2000 computer,
Dollar.
a $2,000 computer for about 20% of that price or less. So I'll be looking a little more slowly. I'm interested in when everybody can afford it. And we're getting close to that stage now with very powerful computers. So much for that. I will hit on FOSS history briefly and again tell you there's some good stuff for those who are interested. One of them is the GNU operating system, probably the most popular flavor of Linux and underlying a lot of what's in Linux. This is an article about it and an intro into it to see how that works and how you can utilize pieces of it or learn why they do things the way they do and get help. This is an introduction to that area, and I think a bunch of people might appreciate it. This is a similar way in, different place, and they're both good for the same purpose. Linux is divided into various main groups. One of them is called Debian Linux. And Debbie was the main fellow's girlfriend. And now it's famous. And Ubuntu is a subset of Debian, which is a subset of Linux. And Linux is sort of the old Unix brought down for personal computers. And Ubuntu itself has introduced some really nice ideas that have spread wider. Its main focus in the past has been on making it easy for a normal computer user to think a Linux running computer is more elegant than the other stuff. Just simple, obvious, elegant, beautiful, fast, etc. So they've been doing a lot of polishing to make it more user-friendly for many years now. I like it. It's the one I've chose for our clients, for our company, as well as for ourselves and for our friends and relatives. So we like it. It's not the only one people like. But Ubuntu, maybe a year or so ago, introduced a new way to package applications. It's called snaps. Instead of getting the application, you get a snap for that application. They're not the first ones to do this. It's kind of old news. App image is one I probably use more often. Debian had .deb files for the purpose. Other versions use .rpm files. They are all package managers. Instead of somebody writing an application, because all this software is open, it can be shared. And because it can be shared, you'd be silly to write all the parts of your application. You'll just pick up your favorite chunks from other places and say, pick up that, pick up this, now run this part of mine. And the package says which ones ought to be there in which versions to fit your computer and your version of Linux, and get it all sorted out correctly and loaded, or confirmed that it was already loaded. No need to load it, because 90% of what you need, you probably already are running for some of your other applications. So it compares notes between, gets it straight. That's a package manager. Ubuntu thinks its snaps are just wonderful and everyone ought to adopt them. And there's a lot of pushback to that by all the places that have other things they like. So this is a lovely history of Ubuntu snaps, why Ubuntu bothered to look for another version, and why they think it's strong now and going to get strong later. You may agree, you may not, but this is where I recommend you go for a fairly quick read of what it thinks it's about, and you can read comments from other people about that as well. A nice place to start on that, on the history of this new proposition that you can use now, but it might get a lot more universal. We shall see. In hot software, I've got a different approach to the same snaps.
Good segue, dear.
Thanks. I laid it there on purpose to make sure I did it. And under hot software, this particular article is going to tell you how to get into not just snaps, but also themes, and how between the two of them, Ubuntu thinks it's blazing a way towards seamless desktop integration. Everything just sits there and fits perfectly and runs beautifully. That's the goal, and you can read about how far along they are and what they're doing, and guess whether it's going to be spreading wider or not. It's open source software. Ubuntu is not trying to or able to keep it from spreading. And in fact, they're trying to help that to happen. So that's an interesting read, and it means you can pick it up and start playing with some of it. Onward. I'll come back to Photox later. It's a nice demo I'd like to do, but it's not part of the main stream. And I'm going to bring up one more thing under hot software. Maybe I'll remember to bring it up again at the end. Listen in. This is an invitation for other people to suggest or perhaps to demonstrate. I am asking this month so that in future months we can discuss how best to synchronize calendars between your Linux system with its calendar, whatever you use, and smartphones.
Without using the cloud.
We don't want to use the cloud. This is your personal information. And the cloud, my word for the cloud is the fog. You just can't know how much of it others are seeing. And unfortunately, that's going to be including the smartest encryption pretty soon. So how can you just sit on your computer and with a cable or your local network not going beyond, how can you move and share your calendar data between Linux and smartphones? And I put in there note-taking apps. I think they may be a good way of doing it and not an obvious one to many people. They're getting very popular also. So I'm inviting inputs on that. If you have a thought, please email it to me. And maybe next month we'll have something to present, or at least a lot more to discuss on the topic. And I'll put this in our discussion group as well for the FOSS user group. So people who use that might bat it around there. I'll bring that up at the end if I can remember to. So we'll be back to those. I'll come back to the hot hardware too. We've got some really nice stuff in there, and you're going to want to run out and order some of it, I betcha. But later. Hot internet. Changing Wikipedia to win elections and influence people. That sounds like what I was talking about with Facebook, doesn't it? This is a formal report by Stanford University's Internet Observatory. which is interesting itself. So this will be a door into a lot of interesting information for some of us worrying about this topic of the week and the year, I'm going to guess. Mozilla, Firefox, Thunderbird. Mozilla introduces the Social Media Analysis Toolkit, SMAT. And
That's a Boston accent.
Sounds-
Smart.
oh, yeah, that's right. It's
Or New
SMAT in
Hampshire.
Boston.
New Hampshire, more like. Smart.
Okay. And down east in Maine. Anyway, this is going to be very interesting. It's a toolkit you can use on your computer to see what you want to trust, both in terms of what you're going to listen to and believe, also in terms of what you're going to allow onto your computer to make trouble there. So I think that's going to be very interesting. And of course, that's lead into the main topic. And their description of SMAT is a new open source tool for tracking disinformation. And they're doing it with open source. No surprise there. Other people can't lodge things in it that can't be easily seen. Good. Now, computer security, privacy, and freedom. That's usually a separate little corner of what we do every month, but we've been doing it for more than half of everything I've talked about today. How astonishing. Domestic white supremacist terrorist hackers are now a serious threat, not just the Russian ones we've been talking about at the outset. And Bob Primack has a presentation for us on that. I'm going to stop sharing and let Bob take over.
Okay, let's see whether or not we can get, let's try to get my Chrome tab, and we'll show you what I am talking about. Everybody see the article?
Yes.
Good. Then we're underway. What I found was Engadget is analyzing what happened in the Capitol riot from the point of view of cybersecurity, or information security, InfoSec they call it. And they also have something they call pen test, which is penetration testing. And they come to some interesting conclusions about what did, might, or could not possibly have been going on. So the main thing that they point out is that all this was planned, as Dick said, in the open, and it was planned. And it was planned for weeks in advance, and so there was plenty of time for people who were supposed to defend the Capitol to know what was going on, who was planning it, and to take countermeasures if they had been allowed to do so. There are reports that the administration blocked them from making the correct preparations. So we're left wondering, about some cybersecurity questions. Engadget asked a professional pen tester, could this riot have been covering a deliberate professional penetration test to see if they could steal equipment and get into networks and do things of that sort? Well, first of all, the question is, who would do such a thing? If you're talking about a nation-state actor, then that's not a very likely thing to have been going on. But the question is, what about if there was somebody who was a domestic entity that was trying to do something, trying to test the security and see if there were ways to get in? So I'm going to skip farther down because I don't want to take too much time here. Here are some interesting clues that Engadget and the security professionals pointed out. The people who were in this group who stormed the Capitol An organized, well-equipped, and pre-planned operation. There were some people who were wearing masks. There were some people who were armed, people who allegedly were ex-military or off-duty police. They had zip ties or flexicuffs. They had radios. They had body armor. And they knew how to find where some of the secret offices were that are not known to the public. So, with weeks of advance notice, a loud and unpredictable mob as cover, and a plan to breach and occupy the building, it makes sense to think of it as an opportunity for a foreign adversary to tag along and blend into the crowd. But the thing you would want to aspire to in cyber espionage is not to be seen, and you want to do something surreptitious, something that everybody doesn't find out about immediately. This is where SolarWinds succeeded. They had existed on the server for a long time, and nobody even knew they were there. But with the Capitol riot, you know everything is happening, and you know everything is being compromised. So, of course, they're going to do something called burning. They completely render everything that is discovered as as useless, and they consider everything to have been exposed. And so they change everything, all the passwords, and they shut down all the laptops, and basically anything that was captured would be useless. That means that it's too many risks for a low-value target, and the Capitol is actually, for a nation state, a relatively low-value target because it doesn't contain a lot of classified information. It's an unclassified network for the most part. So then they go on to talk about the kind of information you would get from the laptops that were stolen, and information about the network would be things like schedules, inauguration plans, personal information, operational details, etc. A domestic attacker would be much more likely to be interested in these details than a nation state. For attackers who want to terrorize and kill individuals or a group of lawmakers, these details are a high-value target. So then the question is, have these right-wing groups been showing up at hacker conferences? And it turns out that they did show up at places like DEF CON, and they showed up also at another hacker conference, the HOPE conference, Hackers on Planet Earth. These two conferences handled these right-wing hackers very differently. The DEF CON people were having none of them, and they just simply banned them. And unfortunately, they call this a kind of a game of whack-a-fascist, because you really have multiple people you have to ban. But the HOPE conference didn't even make an attempt to ban anybody, and they didn't secure their conference in time, and the conference was disrupted. So there were multiple in-person threats, verbal abuse, and HOPE has had to completely reevaluate how they secure their meetings if they do get back to face-to-face. The other thing that this article points out is that the House of Representatives Sergeant at Arms office was not prepared for domestic terrorists or people trying to do penetration testing. So they were downplaying and ignoring domestic cyber adversaries, and this proved to be a truly deadly mistake. So let's drop down to some of the conclusions that they reached so that we finish up here pretty quickly. Many reprehensible, dark, and unforgivable acts were committed on January 6th. It is revolting that the attackers felt so safe and righteous in their violence that they documented everything they did. This detail was a mind-boggling spectacle for the corners of InfoSec that practice, teach, and pride themselves in social engineering and OPSEC, or operational security, covering your tracks. Fortunately for most of us, monsters who fail at OPSEC almost always succeed at masterminding their own tragedies. And they concluded it's damn satisfying to watch them getting caught and arrested as a result. I'll turn this back to whomever.
I'll catch it. Thank you very much.
Have I stopped? Okay.
Somehow, like everything else in that section, it's not all that reassuring. But they did get everything that was on Parlor, remember? Let me see if I can switch to Parlor now.
Parlor?
Well, to the article. I'm trying to get back to my screen. Let's see. The Chromium. I want to get across to. Where to go?
You want to share your
Right.
screen?
Here we go. Here we go. Application window, and this is a problem. I guess I'll go back to the main one first. And well, we want to get those people caught. We want to get those
You're
people.
not shared.
I'm not sharing.
Oh, maybe you are. Maybe it's my problem.
Okay. Is everyone seeing my screen now?
They all have their
Yeah,
turned off.
Good.
Yes.
we're fine.
You can put a thumbs up and we'll see you.
You need to set everyone follows me, though.
Okay. Well, Bob was building on what I was saying. And what we're all saying is, let's get these guys, let's catch them, and let's get them under control. Let's not have them threaten us. There are millions of them by now. Let's get it really under control, treat it very seriously. But what are the limits of privacy? And again, I didn't succeed in getting my stuff to shift yet, but maybe it's just because I'm not trying hard enough. Wait a minute. Yeah, here we go.
That's not showing up here.
It isn't.
You have to stop. You have to go to a different sharing. Stop sharing and go to the other one. Unless you share your full window, I think.
Well, we tried that. You told me I couldn't.
I didn't tell you you couldn't.
Oh, okay. Well, then maybe I can.
Bob had trouble.
Let's see what happens.
I was using Wayland. You're using X.
That's true.
You want to
Right.
do whatever you do for sharing.
I guess I had to start here and views full screen.
No, share.
Settings.
Whatever you did to set up sharing.
Well, I
do
think
it
I went to
again.
settings first.
There. Okay. And
No, this isn't where I was setting. This isn't it.
you just did it.
Beg pardon? You mean a little earlier? Not now, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Goodness gracious. Hang on a minute. I thought I am in Firefox. Okay, that's good. And where's the view full screen? What?
Is that what you did?
I mean, no.
No.
What
Okay,
are you
that's
trying to do,
eight.
Dick? You want to set your screen as a full screen?
Entire screen.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, entire screen is what I had tried earlier. We'll try it now.
Oh, you have to click down here
In it,
in it
and then share it.
Share it.
Is that all I was trying to remember?
And
Close this.
now I think you have to go
Just close this or use it.
close it.
How about view full screen?
No, no, no.
No?
Switch over to a different tab. I mean, a different window.
Any different window?
Well, Fire Web.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes. No, you didn't want to do that. So close
Okay,
it.
I listened. Sorry. It won't happen again.
Close. Go to Firefox.
Lord knows I try.
Go to Firefox.
I was in Firefox.
No, you
Now I'm in Firefox.
Yay!
That was simple. So here we are once again with the part of the rioters who are simply talking to each other, not just to the people in their bus ride from their town, but the ones who are organizing across the internet. They're now looking at encrypted apps. Well, there's a lot of argument over how much encryption can be legal. In some countries, you're not allowed to encrypt. Big Brother is watching you. In other countries, they don't care, whatever you do. In the United States, and most of the big players, there are rules that say you shouldn't get snooped on for everything you do, but you should be able to be snooped on, because if you're not, bad people can do exactly what's been going on. The counter argument to that is if bad people can be snooped on, good people can be snooped on, both by the government and by those hackers who learn how the government can do it. So there's a lot of back and forth already, and a lot of tension over the law enforcement access to encrypted applications. And all your information can be sent through a server around the world into another person with passwords attached that make the communication look scrambled to anyone along the way, unless they know the passwords or how to get the passwords. So this is the puzzle. This is a very good article on that subject, and it's leading to a few other ones. And it's looking at the US fallout. But remember, this is going to be a spiral. If the US ups it a notch, Russia will. If Russia does, China will, et cetera, and we'll be upping a notch because of that. Nothing good is going to come out of last Wednesday, except that we're finding out what happened. But even that is bringing this kind of trouble. So I think you'll appreciate learning more about it, and I think you'll be reading more about it later. Now, how do I simply go back to where I was? Do I have a tab for that?
I think you have to stop sharing.
Actually, that was in another window. Let me see if I can do it from my end.
Oh,
On.
yes.
Eureka! Science may work after all. So that's my contribution in that category. I want to look at one very quickly, out of order. Dilbert on upgrades. And hopefully it just switched in my other. Oh, isn't this nice? And for those of you who don't know,
Scroll it so people can see the
in my Ubuntu Linux, instead of running one desktop, which is basically your world on the computer as you see it, the way in, I'm running 4 desktops. And again, here they are. And I've put my draft agenda in a separate desktop so I can go back and forth. My favorite frog, the bullfrog with the bow tie, I took the picture with a smartphone. Photox made it look beautiful. And then Photox made it look pretty artsy too. And I like it for wallpaper. So today I'm lingering there. And I can go back and forth between these now. And I haven't left my Chromium connection to Jitsi, which is how you're seeing me. Nice trick. So here I am. We're looking at a Dilbert cartoon from a few days ago, the 11th. And Dilbert, who's pretty smart, says, I have an idea for a keyboard design that we upgrade every 6 months by rearranging where the keys are. Well, the pointy-haired boss, who's all-powerful but not too smart, can you think of any parallels? Says, why would we do that? Dilbert says, to make it better. Pointy-haired boss says, that would only make it harder to use. Dilbert says, exactly like our software upgrades. What's your point? This is another quandary like the one we have on how free should we make the internet. This is one of those, and it applies to Linux even more than to Windows.
Yeah.
We
Just
get
by the way, we're not seeing a full screen. We're just seeing a sub screen with all the other participants in the meeting.
Are you sure you can't
No,
click?
you need to.
Just click on the sub screen. I think you'll get it.
Dick, you need to go to settings.
Jill is seeing it okay.
You need to go to settings, more, and everyone follows me.
We tried that, didn't work.
We've been doing that. But in addition to that, I'm seeing it fine on Jill's computer, which is not attached to mine, except through Jitsi. So I think if you click on that, it should go full screen.
No,
How does it look on the YouTube? Dennis,
Toggle
can you check
tile
that?
view. Toggle tile view.
Clicking on it worked for me.
The YouTube view is seeing the gallery view. It's not seeing just Dick's screen.
Yeah, and the way to fix that. And again, I've done a lot of testing on that because we have a problem with the BLU meetings.
Go to Chromie.
Settings,
Okay, wait a minute.
more,
Well, are you talking to me for everyone or each person?
yes. Settings, more, and everyone follows me.
Settings. More.
It's already
It's
checked.
clicked. It's checked.
As I said. Okay. Now, I'm thinking
Wait a
that
Can you
minute,
try
what's
unchecking it?
Enable pre-meeting screen? No.
I'll uncheck it. And now I'll check it. And I'll say, okay. And I think I haven't changed anything for you. Am I right? Now, instead, if you'll click on the 4 square icon down in the lower
No,
right.
but he says what's going up on YouTube is. So Jerry, it's clicking on more does and everyone follows me does not change anything.
Can you try turning it off though?
I did.
Well, you turned it back on. Can you turn it off and then close it?
Okay, just a minute. Settings. By the way, I use Jitsi once a month these days. If it isn't showing already.
No, click on OK.
I have now turned it off and clicked the OK.
Now you go down.
Any improvement?
Now you go down and set it again, I think.
Set what?
Go back to.
You want me to reset it on or leave it off, Dennis?
I wanted to leave it off for the moment.
So I'll just go back to Chromium, right?
It didn't seem to make a difference, unfortunately.
Right. I don't understand.
Chromium.
I guess I'm not seeing it either.
Oh, you're in Chromium. You want to go to whatever you want to see.
Which is up hither.
Right.
Okay,
Nope, that's not working at all.
it will.
You will.
Well, the rest of us are on the side in little boxes. And Dick is the whole screen.
Ah,
That's what you wanted, but you wanted it
I've gone wrong.
your computer.
So let me get back to Chromium. Okay, and now in Chromium, let me hit the D to go there. And entire screen we decided? I
Yes,
think so.
and click on the screen. And then click on share.
Holy
I don't
moly.
think that's what he
I
wants.
think that was the wrong idea.
Oh, I
I'm
like it.
falling in.
Well, it is full screen now, so
Yes.
Isn't that good news?
Can you go?
What do I want to do to
You
undo
want to
this?
go to Firefox?
Yes, but I think I'm in Firefox.
No, I don't think so. There you are.
And what did you want?
Yay! Dennis,
Want to not get all the updates,
is on.
or you might want to get all the updates. It depends on you. If it's changing all the time, you'll get the best, the latest, but you'll also get the changes. And with Linux, you get your choice of both. And with Ubuntu Linux and many of the other main flavors, there's two flavors you can use. One flavor is the one that has a new release every 6 months, and it has updates to that release practically daily. And you can set to get them automatically or to be notified when they're there and you see if you want them, or to ignore them until the next release. Meanwhile, there's a second flavor. One of those releases every year is called an LTS release, long-term support, every 2 years now, I believe. And so 18.04, which is April 2018, and 20.04 are our current long-term support versions. And some people just want to sit with those. If I'm setting up for a company that's going to have a lot of computers with a lot of casual users, I'm going to use an LTS version. I won't have to update it as often, and they'll be more comfortable with it. I will also set it to take the latest upgrades anyway, affecting security for that version. If something's going to make the computer work wrong, we want that upgrade, but not the other ones. So there's a lot of ways you can argue with this cartoon from both sides. And it's an interesting argument, and you can have your cake and eat it with Linux. Of course, you can put one on one computer and one on the other computer. Now the computers can be so cheap. Get good ones, dirt cheap if they're a few years old, and factory refurbished, so they're in good shape.
Turn it over to Dennis now.
Now, Dennis has a game to show, and I propose to make room for Dennis Payne.
all right.
Uh-oh, Dennis is falling down the tube. This tube has been installed in the secret server in the Capitol building in Washington, D.C.
All right. So I've been working on my open source achievement system, and so which I've demoed here before, and so I've asked people to let me know if there's a game that has achievements built in, because generally it's very easy to convert it to use my open source system. So I was alerted to this game called Hijinks. It is created using the Godot engine, which at some point I plan on demoing here, but I haven't gotten around to that yet. So I updated it to use the Gamerzilla, the open source game achievement system, but it's a fun game regardless. It can be set to full screen, but I've purposely set it smaller so that the updates are a little bit better. I will say, for the purposes of achievements, the game is really hard. The developer of it has made it really hard to get any of the achievements. But the game itself is a bit of a platformer. So you can move around. Your goal is to get over to where this package is, because you're trying to collect all the presents. You can jump against walls and can go over here and talk to this turtle, where you find out about how he's gone over and was trying to deliver these packages, and he messed up and dropped them. So it's got a funny little storyline to it. I don't think this is the one that tells you about it. Yeah, the second one that you find goes over and tells you about how the reason he was taking the packages was because Santa had an emissions failure. Because he went over and had the emissions failed, not because of the sled, but because of the reindeer.
What are the rings?
The rings are just something you're supposed to collect. And if you looked at the achievements that they had, there was an achievement for completionist, 100% of the game. To get that, what you have to do is you have to beat the level. You have to beat the par for the level. So there's a minimum speed that you're supposed to do it at. And you must have collected all of the rings. And the rings tend to be out of the way. So it ends up being very hard to collect all of them. So I think the hourglass over here tells you that I've beaten par on these 2 levels, but otherwise I've just completed the levels. And so my completion rate is only 37.5%. It's a pretty hard game. I do feel that it's a fun game to play. They introduce other mechanics later on. So this one, I believe, has one of the shooting items. So if you get hit, you end up just immediately having to restart. And so you have to make sure that you get there in time. And you've got this floor is slippery. They do have, there are 12 levels in the base game. And then after you beat the 12 levels, it goes to what they call the B-sides that have similar levels, but are much harder. And so by the end, you saw where there were the 2 cannons that were firing at you. Well, this is the last level. And so you've got even more cannons firing. And so it can take a while to complete some of these levels sometimes. But I do think it's a fun game to play. It is open source. And that's about it. I will turn it back over to Dick.
Thank you very much. I see we're all going to be up late tonight or tomorrow night if I don't get the URL posted in time. We shall see. Where am I? Who am I? I'm going to try a different way to get there. I know I could do that.
Yeah, but you're not up
I'm
there.
not there. This should get me there, but it doesn't.
No, you have to share again. You unshared.
It's got to be an easier way to do this. I thought the D key was going to do that automatically. Sorry, guys. Where do I go? Where am I? Who am I? Go back to Firefox, right?
No,
No?
no, you need to share from Jitsi.
Yeah? Where?
Isn't one of these screen sharing down here?
Seems to be. We make haste. Oh, not that again.
No, now you just go back to
Firefox?
Firefox.
I know there's a quick way to do this. Sorry, folks. Here's a good one. And now I'm got it. Now,
Yay!
that was a simple one-button maneuver. I hope it will be by next month. I know what I'm practicing.
You're gonna do Photox?
Let's see. Yes. Or go shopping. Let's do that and then go shopping. Photox is my favorite go-to photograph editing and management tool. It keeps all the photos in order where I can find them quickly and keeps the best ones where I can pull them and lets me sort by any tabs I can invent. It's good. First thing I'm going to do is not load it. I'm going to tell you that we changed a tool about a month ago. The crop tool in it allows you to cut down your photo to the part of the photo you want for the final image. And smart photographers normally take a picture a bunch wider than what they think they want. And if it's sharp enough, they can then choose later with much better options instead of having just one size they can get, one amount they can get. So that's a crop tool. And it allows you to set different ratios, for instance, for the screen size or for a square size, because it's going to hang on a wall where that would be nice, whatever. Well, it had a problem with it, and I think I'll demonstrate by first going to my desktop. I set for a changing one. I'll go back around to that. It's not that frog that you remember. In fact, yes, it is. There's a bunch of frogs in the bucket that Jill is carrying there. She's taking them out of the pond in our backyard and leaving them up at the local junior high school pond for the winter because our pond is too small. They get frozen. Our lake is big enough, but they come back. They get eaten by big fish in our lake, and they come back from the pond up the street in the springtime. So it's kind of an interesting deal we have going. This is my desktop running as a slideshow of some of my favorite slides after the photos got turned into something nicer by Photox. Sometimes it's very realistic, like this. And sometimes it's very abstract. One will come up in a moment or two if I'm lucky. I've got a set there. There's one now. That's a particular type of abstract fractal image enhanced with Photox and et cetera, et cetera. So while I'm doing that, I've put up on the desktop, first of all, the thing I told you about earlier, the Capitol building, now ready for trouble. That's it. And they're sleeping on a hard, cold floor every night because of those damn rioters. A year ago, I would have said, this is what I don't want to see in the Capitol building. This year, we're learning to compromise, aren't we? Um, Now, the other thing I kept in there was where I'm going to start for my demo. I found this on the internet. I wanted a picture of a large microwave array looking into space, doing space exploration. And I found this one. And once I found this one, I wanted to turn it into something special to fit my own screen, like these desktops are doing behind. To do that, I decided I'd work on it, and I could make it as big as I want to begin to fit the screen, and then right click and say open with. This is my Ubuntu talking. I do not have Photox loaded.
Yet.
And it says open with Photox. And this will open Photox with this image, not with my regular set. So I'll say, okay, I have other options. I say select. Now Photox is up and running on that image, and the image looks too narrow and too tall for my screen. With my new tool, I can pick on, let's see, the first thing I would do.
You're going to crop it first?
Wait, I guess I'll start with, not exactly. Yeah, a crop, but not that crop. I'm going to start, instead of cropping with what I want, I'll show you how that works, actually. I want 16 by 9 for my screen ratio. I can make up any one I want, or I can have ones of my choice on a row. It comes with one set, and you can modify the set. Very flexible program. 16 by 9 is the one I'd want, and it's now locked on it, as you can see. That's the shape of my screen. I can make it bigger or smaller or move it around. If I drag the center, I'm moving it around. If I drag a corner, I'm changing its size in that direction, etc. Not what I want. With my new tool, even if this rectangle of the image, the full image, even if that were not squared off neatly, if it were a parallelogram or some tilted sides or some notched sides because of something I did along the way, I could set to max, and max will get me out of the lock and out of the size. It will go to the maximum it can do. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, click. And it's automatically sized to the largest it can fit where there's image. If there was a notch in the image, it would be sized to the largest it could fit while not including the notch. The best clean rectangular image I can get of any shape, any relative ratio, that is. Now, I'm in max. Now I can go back to my size. This is the new trick. And for those who have been using it, you'll like the change. Now I can set my size. And I've got a full size, even if this weren't a neat rectangle, maximum size for what I've got. And in my case, I want to put some messaging down at the bottom in the dark part. So I'll give it some. I think that's a pretty good compromise. I've got some dark part to play in, and I've got plenty of sky showing. So that's my new trick, and that's all there is to it, but it's lovely. I'll say, okay. Now I've got the image I'm going to keep. I'm going to improve on it. And I normally start by seeing if some automatic enhancing might help. I can put it in and I can take it out. Voodoo 1, I like it. Helps a little, I like that. It's glowing, it's good. I might want to sharpen it even a little more. And for that, I'm going to do a repair, sharpen, and I have a minimum unsharpening setting set, 220 and 1. And I'll just apply it. You got the tiniest bit sharper, those little frames on each of the reflectors got that much better. And you have to look close to see the difference. I'll say I like that one. Okay. There are other ways you can sharpen, and quite a few of them. And for the moment, let's say that's all I wanted to do. Other than now, I've got a nice dark bottom section where I can put my message. So I will say, edit, markup with text. And boy, am I lucky. I've just the text in place there. How could that have happened? I'll click down here somewhere. Then I'll drag it around a little bit. And I'll bring it up so you can read it now. No, I won't. I'll say, that's it. That's what I wanted. So I can say, okay. And now it's there. I'm done. Got my picture. I can store it where I want. And as you might guess, I already have. So now I'll just click on A for album. And bang, I'm in my regular album. I'll go way down to the bottom. These are my favorites over many years. And in there, there's the one I already made. It'll lose the changes to the current image. I don't have to save it. I've got this one. It was just to demo it. And there it is. You like?
Well, they have their mics
Right.
muted, so you can't hear them.
So that's the new tool in Photox, and a quick little trip through a few of the many other items and how easy they are to use, how quick they are to work. It's just a wonderful tool. The most wonderful thing about it is that it's free open source software managed by one programmer with a little help. He's a nice guy. He's now a friend of ours. And I suggested this change, and it was in within a week. Some days it'll be in overnight. Depends how busy he is. So that's the point of free open source software you'll never get at a big company. And you too can have that favor with Photox. He's happy to talk with users. And that's what makes it better so quickly. By the way, I loaded that from an app image from his website, and I'll send you information as to how you can do that. So we love it. We just think it's the best way to play with photographs. What else do I have today? We're going to go shopping. That's right. Where am I? I don't remember.
You're in Photox.
Do I have to get...
You probably want to close Photox
Let me see
and go to...
I suppose I could close it. I'm not using it for more.
No.
Why not?
Oh, yeah, right. Sorry.
I'll just close Photox.
Right.
It says, are you sure? Yup. And now I'm back on that other screen.
Which is you want to close. It's
Do I?
viewer. It's just the
Good. I'm back
Okay.
to you folks seeing my background now. And now I want to go back from background. Is it here? Nope. I go back to this guy, which should show up now. Beginning to get, this is where I should have been at the beginning of the show, folks. And we're going to go shopping. Hot hardware. First of all, I did talk to you about Photox and the fact that I now don't use a camera. I just use a selected smartphone. I paid $150 for the one that I like, and I think you can get them now for about $100. And it's an LG V30, LG space V30.
or V30 Plus.
I'm mentioning that because it has all kinds of wonderful things, and what it doesn't have, Photox lets me put in later to a large extent. But I thought it would be interesting to add some stuff to it, and I went shopping for that stuff. Can I get to it?
No,
See.
you have to go to...
I can't.
Yeah, is it one of these tabs up here?
Yes, it is.
No.
Yes.
Oh, sponsored items from the seller.
Oh, it didn't go to the one I wanted.
Hmm.
should be there. Let me think, how do I
It
find
says
it?
you bought this item? Oh, scroll down, see if it's
Good.
on.
I mean, too many things at once. And here we go. I have found it. I paid a whopping $8. For $8, I got a telephoto lens. I got, I think I got more lenses than that. Just a minute. There's more coming. I got a telephoto lens. I got a way to attach my camera to a tripod. I got one of those gorilla type tripods that you can wrap around a tree branch if you want, or you can set it up with 3 straight legs. There's all kinds of interesting things. And I got a clothespin of sorts. And I got a little more. There's the tripod, playing like it's a tripod. There's the telephoto lens, which is zoomable, more of it, the other end of it, and lens caps. What am I looking at? I don't know what I'm looking at, but there it is. This is an open half of a clothespin. And as you see, it can hold stuff. And here's the one that grabs the smartphone to lock it to the tripod. And that's all they're going to show. Maybe it didn't include it. Anyway, it included a lot of things for $8. I think I shortchanged you on what I wanted. Let me go back to where I came from. And back to the top of it. Or maybe the bottom will have more. Because I thought it included more than that. Okay. Something will up here.
No.
Let's see. See what I get. That's what I'm looking for. This guy has the same clip-on device, and it's got another set of things to go with it. Joe, make a note to fix that on what I send out. So it goes. I'll keep the other one too. It's interesting. This one, we'll go look at one. This one's $6.19, but we just had one for $3.99. What happened? Go for the bargain. Aha. Best match. Let's go for what? Should be price plus shipping lowest first. I tend to ignore the ones that are floating in from China, even if they're $2.28. California isn't bad, but further than that, I don't want to wait. China, China, China. I can rule these out, but instead, I'll just go down the list. Still China, but we're about to leave China, I betcha. I betcha. Oh, this one comes with a baggie. This one comes with something long that I don't understand. But we're still in China. Okay,
Why don't you turn off China?
I'll bite the bullet and turn off China. Manufacturer, forget about that.
No, unit. It was
Jill,
just
I've got
above
it.
there, Dick. I saw it. Oh, U.S. only. Okay. Ah.
And here we go. And we're still in price plus shipping, lowest cost. So for instance, this one comes in lots of colors, but I'd want black. This one, any of these would be good. So this is the one I'm talking about. The kind I'm talking about. And for the heck of it, I'll say black. And I'm looking for one that shows you more of how it works.
That one?
Well, it might be, I'll tell you what. This isn't a step through? I thought it would be.
Can't you click on that?
I can. I don't want to. Get it down where I see more of it. I can do that. I'm looking for one that shows it in business. I'm not seeing it. Hey, no. Well, here we go. The clip will take the screw thread back we go. Oh, come on, guys.
Don't you click on it and it stays? Yes.
Here's what I was waiting for. The bottom of the clothespin has a thread on it, which you can see there after you take the lens caps off it. And then you have these 3 lenses. You can put on a fisheye lens. I don't bother with that because I've got a very fine lens in the camera and I've got a very fine ability to convert it without losing resolution in Photox. It's called a spherical warp. I can do that and get to there. So I haven't been using this lens. Perhaps you'd like it. But I can also put a macro lens into it. If you look very closely, the macro lens goes in, and it in turn has a thread that you can put the wide angle lens into. Again, so far I've been thinking the wide angle controls on my camera work very well, so I haven't been playing with it. The macro one is the one I think is worth the whole price. You may disagree. With your tools, you might find the others are just as useful. But the macro lens lets me literally move the smartphone to less than an inch away from the object and get a very nice enlarged macro image of it. I highly recommend it. $4 with the fittings in a baggie. So that's the one I'll be telling you about. You may like the others. I'm going to go back to the one I told you about first, the telephoto. I'm going to tell you that I found at about 18 or 20 times magnification, I couldn't hold it steadily. On a tripod, it would be useful. And I think there's some other ways, for instance, just leaning against a wall, I could make use of it. But with my particular smartphone, I could blow up the smartphone image and do as well or better. So again, I did not find it a great hit for me, but the ways it can grab the smartphone and the tree limb, the tripod and such, I think it made a lot of sense to get it anyway. I went to look locally for the tripod only, never mind grabbing a smartphone or anything else. $22 was the best price. So that $8 package, maybe you use the telephoto, maybe you won't, but it's a bargain too. So that's my piece of the talk on those particular items. Let's go back to my shopping menu. I'm going to go into one of my other desktops and get my list back. Oh, and fisheye and tripod. Okay, it was all in here, but all in one lump. I'll split it apart. So I'll put the tripod up with the telephoto and then put the macro fisheye wide angle at the other side. It'll make sense. How much did you pay for your headset? You can pay hundreds of dollars for a good headset. But nowadays, headsets are pretty lumpy to carry around in your pocket with you. And you might want something you can listen to that allows you to listen, while you're traveling, while you're taking a break, wherever. And in your pocket, you can put something very small and handy. And they can be bought for around $50 or $200 or under $5. I said 6 when I was doing my shopping, but I think one of these is going to come out better. I have 2 choices here today.
Did it open it in?
Here we go.
Oh.
Let's go find it. And then let's go over and see it. Just a minute. Back to the desktop that holds you guys and or what you guys think is me. This is it. This is a center control on wires that connect it to earplugs. Happens to be in silver in this case. There are options. Jill will show you hers in a little while. She's using one. Those 3 dots at the top of the control are a built-in microphone with some fairly good noise canceling. It has 3 controls on it, and once it's off your ear, once it's in your ears, this will be dangling at your side, and you can just reach up and feel the 3 buttons. You don't have to see it once you know what it does. If you hold the middle one for about 5 seconds, you can turn it on or turn it off. You want to turn it off when you're not using it to keep the battery charge, which is hours. I think about 4 hours, but I'm not sure.
I think it lasted more for me.
More? Better yet.
Yesterday and the day
It's
before.
supposed to last over 100 hours holding the battery charge, waiting for when you're going to use it. And that may be so. I don't know. We've exercised it enough yet. And if you just click or hold shortly, not for 5 seconds, you can up and down the volume on the speakers. So it has its ways.
Well, it's more than a second. It's more than a partial second. You have to hold it at least, because I had trouble with that. I click it and it didn't do anything, and I had to hold it just a little bit.
Well, let me say that it works. It
Yeah.
varies from one to another to some degree. I expect these are all using the same control panel inside, but programming it a little differently and certainly shaping and coloring it differently from one to another. Like so much coming out of the same Chinese factory, no doubt. Anyway, this one is quite nice, and it also comes with 3 sets of the actual ear tips, the little thing on the end that plugs onto that ear pod. And you can pull one off and put another kind on. 2 of them are different sizes of foam rubber to fit your ear. This is the 3rd one. It's bigger, but it's a soft rubber flap that will fit even a non-round shape nicely. And it's also, you can't see, but the thing that holds the tip is tilted a little sideways to angle into the ear a little more effectively. It's a nice design, does a lot of things well, and we got one. Here's how you can get one. We'll send you the info. Let's see. How do we get back out? And that's the basic clue for that one. This one brand is called iWorld, but you can get the same thing, not called iWorld. Came in a nice packing box and with good stuff, if you will. I liked it. That's one. It's not the only one in here. Where am I? I thought I'd have a live left arrow. Okay, I don't. But I'm looking. This you can see is the same offer. $5.47 today. And it was a little under $6 a couple of days ago and a couple of weeks ago when we bought it. So the prices on the internet do vary. Same place. And that's an even better deal. Let's go shopping for what I think might be the other one I'm playing with. I'm not sure I'm right here. Let me look a little further. Looking. I think I've got it. Yes. I've got me a pair of these I'm playing with. You can see it looks very similar. The earbuds are an entire different design. And here we go. It's more like what I wanted to be showing you. So I got the black set, but they're the same. And it's explaining what the buttons do. And it only comes with one set of ear flaps, but they seem to be a good fit for me and maybe for you. If you buy both of them, you'll have all kinds of ear flaps and ear tips. See which ones you like. Here's more of a detail of those pods. And I'm looking for a couple of more descriptive pictures in here.
Are you wearing those now?
I am not. And I'm doing okay without them. But I thought I'd stay more flexible today.
No, you get an echo through your speaker.
Well, the problem is that if he puts on earbuds, I can't hear anything unless I turn on my volume here. And if I turn on my volume here, we get echoes.
Because
really bad echoes.
We're still fiddling. I think there's a good solution on that, but we haven't found it yet. I'm not guaranteeing it. This young lady is carrying them by having the magnetized backs of the earpods glom onto each other so they can be carried. Now, the set I got had two obvious defects, and one of them was that magnetism is so weak, I wouldn't dare rely on it for carrying them. I think it's supposed to be a little stronger. And they said, no problem. They said, we'll give you a refund or send you a second set. We think you have a defective set. So I have a second set on the way, and I'll find out what I've got. The other thing I disliked about it was, unlike the set that Jill is using, the set that I got had the minus button at the top. That's not going to be intuitive for setting volumes and such when you're doing it flying blind by feel. So, and they said, yeah, that's supposed to be ending up at the top. The second set ought to fix both the problems. So I hope it will. I think this set has a little better bass sound for me. And I think the set Jill has does stereo, and I think mine does not. But again, we're still playing with settings. There's a lot of possibilities on these things. And guys, we're talking $6 for what really are nice sounding headsets with microphones. So I don't know how well they'll do when Jill and I are next to each other talking to you, and we'll practice with each other first. And I don't know how well they'll do in a really loud situation when you just want to hear your stuff. But in a quiet room, they are golden. And Jill and I can each use ours in a quiet room and not hear the other at all.
So he's listening to classical music, and I'm watching a YouTube video on archaeology.
For instance, no problem. But you can attach both to your computer or not. You have to know to detach the other one unless you want to be hearing it, or you will get crosstalk on purpose. That could be useful also.
And they're Bluetooth.
And it's all Bluetooth. So I think it's just amazing for $6 US. You'll have it in a few days. Marvelous. I think you can afford to try these just to see if you like them. And they weigh nothing. They just don't weigh down your head at all. And you can use them within 25 or 30 feet of your computer. You don't have to stay right at the computer.
And they don't feel when they're in your ears like they're pulling down on your ears.
Right. To me, they're a lot more comfortable than the big headset. The big headset is more solid feeling. It feels more secure, but at a price. And I've been finding out I'm still getting used to them, but I find I rather like them. The price is right.
Yeah,
Much better. I've got good speakers on my computer. Again, it's a very expensive original one. And I think these beat it. Putting these in my ears are very, very nice quality. Either one. So I'll be sending you info on them. Questions on them?
Yeah, Dick, I had gotten some cheap ones last month, and the microphone didn't work at all on them. So I sent them back, I returned them. And I got some Jabra ones, which are really, really good. I spent money for them. That's what I'm wearing right now, but they're very, very, very comfortable. And the only problem I had was that the microphone volume kept going to mute. And I figured out the problem there was the scroll wheel and Linux. It had nothing to do with the earplugs at all. But this is the first really long meeting I've actually used them. But having earbuds for these meetings are really great because you don't get a lot of side talk. You don't get the feedback loops you do when you have the computer speaker on and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I would recommend the $6 one if they're comfortable.
I thought they were very comfortable. There are also ones rather like the Jabra ones, down around the same price and on a sliding scale up to way high. So, so you're welcome to try those other options as well. If you look on eBay, I think you'll find quite a few ideas. These are the ones we're already equipped to recommend. That's what I can say about it.
I think you have one more item, the $200 laser printer toner cartridge.
Oh, anybody using laser printers these days? Oh, I shouldn't have gotten out so soon. Wait a minute. I'm going back in. First,
why don't you close this?
Got it. Hey, picky. And I think that was the one. Yes. And now I go to my friend over hither. And from her, I guess I want my other, this guy.
Right.
And I take it back. This guy. $200 laser printer toner cartridge coming up. And back we go to the other desktop. Up the street from me at Staples, we thought we'd get us one. I thought it was going to come up. It's still coming up, I think.
No, it just went to staples.com.
I worked in that building when I was 15.
Well, they haven't changed it much, I bet.
No, it was J.M. Fields back then.
Oh.
At building 19 or
no, it was before that. It was J.M. Fields.
Right, you are. Okay, here we are shopping at Staples up the street. And they had 5 hits, I believe. And they don't all cost that much. Let me ambiguate. Oh, for God's sakes. That should have worked, I tell you.
Do it again.
I'm still here, aren't I?
Yeah, do it again. Do it again.
Jill says I should do it again. She's
No,
often
not
correct.
there.
Not there. What did you want me to do again?
Well, you wanted to full size it, right?
Yes.
So you need to go to this one here.
It's just full sized.
No, it isn't.
No, it isn't. You're right. I wasn't there?
No, you hit the next one above it.
Of course.
That's where you were.
Nothing can go wrong. No, now it's showing down. So here's the $200 offer. It turns out it's official. It's from Samsung. Turns out they have cheaper. For only $160, you can get a remanufactured one. For $130, you can get a Samsung one, but there's a catch. It's a $129 for a D205L, not a D205E. I didn't know about the E's. I knew about the L's and the S version. They're all identical mechanically and electronically. The only difference is how much toner powder they've poured in, which, as you know, doesn't cost them much at all. And the S is the small size. It's what you get when you buy the printer. But when you go back, you can buy an S. Do you have any here? Yeah, here's one. Oh, it's only $70, but it's out of stock. And they'd rather sell you $130 or $200. But alternatively, if one wanted to, one could go online and one could go shopping on eBay again. Once one does, one could go back. Should be coming up. Honest, it
You
should.
don't have to go over to Firefox.
Of course.
Because you-
And here we are on eBay. And it's a little better than I told you today. This is a 2-pack of the large one. It's $15 each. They're compatibles. Compatibles sometimes are rebuilds. They replace the wearable parts in the Samsung original and refill it. And sometimes not. And by the way, you can buy the toner powder and do your own refills. It can be messy. Kids, don't do this on your favorite living room sofa. And maybe
and
not on
wear a
your,
respirator mask,
and maybe
an N95 or,
and maybe
or
don't
higher.
do it in your own lap anyway. Anyway, here's 2 of them to go at $15 each instead of $130 each, remember? And on the one hand, I can't get them within half an hour. But on the other hand, I don't even have to drive the car anywhere to get them. So there you are. Now, there's a catch here. These are the large ones. Large means a nominal 5,000 pages. But suppose instead, without going anywhere else, stay at the same store. Let's go for broke. Might work, might not, right? We can afford to find out. And here we've got best match is not what I want. I want shipping lowest first. China isn't so competitive when it comes to heavy things getting shipped. Quantity 1 or 2. These are quantity 1s. And I'm going to save my, and look, $20 gets you a extra large one, the E. The original small one is 1,900 pages. For a little more money, or a lot less money compared to up the street, you can get the large, which is 5,000 pages. That's assuming 5% coverage and, white and black, not a lot of gray area, that sort of thing. It's typical. It's a reasonable guesstimate. The extra large gets you not 5,000, but 10,000 pages. We went up from $15 to $20 and got up to 10,000 pages. Can we do better? Well, let's go up to the twofers. These are still one piece. Two. 34. That's my $17 I told you about. And there it is. For $17, you can get twice as much as in the $130 one over at Staples. Any questions? Now, I like supporting local businesses. I really do. But
Dick, I have a question.
yes,
Actually, it's an observation because we've been going through this for the past month trying to get toner cartridges for Hewlett Packard. And
yeah,
the inexpensive ones are what they call compatibles.
yes.
They are manufactured trying to follow these standards of the originals. And the general experience with these is that it's bad news. The printers don't like it. It doesn't print well. You get a lot of splotches, and that's what we've experienced with Hewlett Packard LaserJets.
When we go shopping on eBay, we look for the comment thread. And we also look for the percent satisfied number for that vendor.
Okay.
But that's for everything. That's not just for the product you're looking for.
Right.
It may be the lemon of the bunch for a good vendor.
Right.
Like we think is going on with my earbuds. He said, sorry, I'll send you another one. I think it'll be good.
Yeah, but if you put it in your printer and ruined your printer, it's not going to be.
Using these. This particular one is for the printer that Jill is using.
Yes.
And she's been using the regular size ones. We've never used the extra large ones.
Right.
But mechanically, they're no different. And we have been using the compatibles for years.
And they've worked for you.
Other ones too.
This is a
So
Samsung.
yes, you can get into trouble. No, if you try it quick and easy, I don't. If it's leaking all over, just take it out.
Yes.
But the price difference is just immense.
It is.
Find a place you do trust and go there.
And if it's
Read the
remanufactured-
comments from people who are buying them.
If it's remanufactured original, that is probably better than similarly manufactured. In other words,
Yes. Agreed.
That's an opinion, and it may be right. If they remanufacture it 20 times, it may not be as good.
Right.
But I think we've had clean ones that didn't look remanufactured, that were compatibles and did work fine. So I can't give you a 100% clear answer, but I can tell you that if you buy it through eBay, they're going to stand by it. And personally, politically, I'm not going to buy through Amazon.
Okay.
That's my statement. Doesn't have to be yours.
Yeah.
But I think eBay's the better way to deal for what we do, and we've done very, very well with it. If you get a bad product and it didn't meet what was advertised, like either new or good or whatever, if the vendor won't stand by it, eBay will refund your money as a minimum.
I understand that.
They'll also work with the vendor if the vendor wishes. But eBay will not initiate a call to a vendor. Interesting. So I can be the middleman and bounce back and forth, and that worked fine for the earbuds. It was one call, one message. But I could work as the middleman with a recalcitrant vendor, and if I can't get the vendor to call eBay, at best I can get my money back.
we had
Of
that.
course, I can tell the vendor I'm going to put his information, what he did online, and that might get a better answer too.
We had that happen last spring. We ordered something which did not work, and the vendor argued with us about it and complained that we had messed up the item when it had arrived with that problem.
And I can
And-
understand his issue also. He doesn't know us half as well as we know him.
And eBay gave us a half a refund and we complained. And eBay gave us the rest of the refund.
So,
Okay. One point that I left out on the remanufactured,
yeah.
they usually go into great detail about how they take them apart and clean them and put them back together again. One of the things is, at least with Hewlett Packard, is the Hewlett Packard cartridges come with a chip in them. When they remanufacture them, they can't get the chip. Hewlett Packard won't let them have it, and that will mess it up too. Because now it's giving it different information, the printer different information.
Right, it's like Keurig.
Watch close. Can you see my screen?
I do. Chip.
Anything else you want to know?
Now, is this original? Is this the latest chip?
You'll have to look. I just picked up a list. That's good. Let's see.
Live streaming is on.
It's from Oregon. So,
Okay, I think that the chips for the Hewlett Packards are built in. Then they don't like they're easily taken out or put in.
Well, I'd read the detail on this to find out.
Yep.
And I just noticed you get two of them for that price.
Yes.
For $8, you'll get two of them.
Are these the original ones or are these remanufactured chips?
No idea.
No idea, nor would I much care on that issue.
Okay.
Either they work or they don't work.
Yeah.
And it's cheap enough to run the experiment before you're in a hurry.
Yes, provided you don't mess up the insides of your laser printer, such that you have to take it apart and clean it.
Well, that's saying the other experiment also wants to be done. You want a reliable seller of them. That's all.
What I have found is if you look around, you can find people who sell the originals, the genuine ones for a discount. You won't get as much, but you can get $30 or $40 off.
You also find somebody who's got one or two of them because their printer broke and they got a new one and they've got some in stock.
Well, these are companies that specialize just in selling the printer cartridges only. They sell them for a lot of different printers.
Yes, I understand. I'm saying there's this other class also there,
right?
Which just happen to have a couple left over in their
Right.
closet.
Oh, there we are. What happened?
Who knows?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out too.
I'm going to claim somebody else did it, but I don't know that that's true. So, in any case, I think
you went on share.
Sure.
Which means go back to the one you're sharing.
Oh, right.
The sharing.
This isn't it. This is it. And now to my, I should have put this up top. Would it be handier?
Oh, you want the other Chromium.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
What was the top one?
Uh,
You sticking to that story?
no.
Me neither.
Oh, stop sharing. There you go. Stop sharing.
Well, whatever hit, we're getting back. And this one can go full screen.
Yep.
I guess it's working. And
No. That's
don't want to be on this. Okay.
You want the full screen button.
Full
not
screen
the-
this.
not the
I'm
full
wrestling
screen
with
button.
my own. I hit one thing too many. I thought Jill told me to do it. Okay, now I'm back too. And I think I've come to the end of everything we planned to do for today, and it's 5:06 p.m. Are there any further items or issues? Oh, I'm remembering one, just to remind you again of that item I asked for inputs on. How can we do a local synchronizing between a local uh, uh, calendar program and a local smartphone, or other combinations like that, without going to the cloud? And good solutions for Linux. If you have other good solutions, that's
And you
interesting too.
wanted me to show these earbuds.
Oh, and that's Chill's
Let's go in.
earbuds. You might as well show mine too. Mine have a charger.
Oh, and his has the
Mine
charger
has
wire.
the charger wire comes with it, and this just plugs in the side of the center
Goes in
part
your
when you want to
USB.
use it. And you can do it from your computer or from any wall wart. That's a standard wall wart. If you got one that's so hotshot it can charge everything in half an hour, don't plug this in that. It may not be able to take the extra power.
And these are his little earbud things, which are straight compared to my little earbud things, which are sort of
Angled a bit.
angled. Let's see if I can get it.
Get it on a white part of the background. Yeah, now you can see it. See? So those are the differences.
Which I like better because there's this little flap here. They go behind it and they don't, and my ears don't get sore after 5 minutes.
If you look around in the same place on the internet, you'll see there are also versions of them that have a sort of a hook over the ear on the outside to hold them around, and some other tricks like that. And like the Jabra phones, they have no wire, correct?
What, the Jabra?
Yeah.
Yeah, no wires. I've got my Jabra right in here.
Yeah, two separate little, great demo. Turn around for a minute again.
Yeah.
There you go. They have ones like that too, down at the same price levels and up from there. We
have volume control.
Yeah, I can't talk about them. We don't know yet.
Yeah, the volume control on this is you tap on the right-hand side, that's volume up. Tap on the left, it's volume down.
How do you switch to the next item online, for instance?
What would be the next item online?
If I'm, for instance, I have a bunch of playlists in songs, and I want to hop forward to the next one. Videos.
I have to go back to the directions.
Okay, it can do that from those three buttons in several modes.
Yes.
And one of the two, I think mine, can display its battery charge level on the smartphone. Mm-hmm. That could be a nice feature. So again, we haven't been pushing them much. I guess you haven't either. They work real nice, just as plain ordinary.
Yeah, this is a Jabra app.
And I think there's a lot more in that little tiny nothing box. We'll be finding out.
Yeah.
That's all from me. Anybody else got anything?
Well, I just want to mention one thing about Snap. Mm-hmm. Is that Snap, actually, you have to have a daemon running for Snap, Snapd. And also with Snap, it's essentially a virtual machine. So it's running as a virtual machine. So it's a little bit of a step back. Nothing serious if you've got a fast computer, but if you have a slower computer, it can affect you.
I agree on a slow computer, and I think read one or both of those articles I'll supply, and get a more complete picture. Yep. People basically, if they complain about it, they complain it's proprietary. It's not, but because it's coming from Ubuntu, they think it's not coming from home base. But most of the open source software is like that from one place or another. And the other one is it's heavy. Jerry's describing heavy in the sense of you need extra horsepower. Might be a RAM issue compared to some other option also. So read about the trade-offs. They're interesting.
Well, one of the complaints about it is that the GNOME project was working on Flatpak. And rather than work with the GNOME project, Canonical did what they always seem to do, where they went off and did their own thing.
Yes, I've heard that also. And Canonical is using GNOME, so it's not like it's the other half of Linux or anything like that. Um, I would say, from my perspective, Canonical, which puts out Ubuntu, does very little unless they think it'll make a significant difference. They use a hell of a lot of other stuff. So I would have a different view on that, but there are different views on those things. I would read those 2 items on the history of it, because they'll be talking about that. They'll be talking about what difference does it make and who cares, which is what is really good about this whole discussion group. What difference does it make and who cares? Which ones to choose, when and why, and how. So I'm not disagreeing. I'm just saying I think you'll get more insight on a spectrum of that with those 2 articles. Nothing else?
Dick, I had something, one more thing.
Okay. Hi, Charlie.
Would it be possible to put on the website a link to Algot Ruderman's manuals, the introduction to computers?
Absolutely. Great suggestion.
Because it'll encourage people to use it.
For those of you who don't know, one of our group members who lives in Natick has put together manuals of his own, and he's an instructor. His manuals are nice, and a professional instructor. And I think they'll be good for beginners. The ones I tell our clients about are about just using Ubuntu. And because I like Ubuntu with Unity so much, he did one for using Ubuntu with Unity. I think it's wonderful. Yes, they should be up there where you can find them. I agree. I think they're up there somewhere already, but I'll make it clear, whatever it is.
Good.
Thanks. And on a similar note, I want to say Algot said he couldn't be here today. He'll tune in later. So we'll see him in another day.
Good.
And I had one thing I wanted to say myself, like that nasty comment about Cat 3 hurricanes. I wanted to tell you that I want to cancel my subscription to 2021. I tried the free 1-week offer, and I didn't like it at all. That's it. See you next week.
Take care.
Okay, thanks. Next month.
Next month.